Kevin from Forsaken. Hey, thank you for joining. Can you hear me? Thank you. I think it's the first time you've joined. Appreciate you confirming, man. We'll give it a few minutes before folks join. But welcome everyone. Happy Sunday. Kevin from Forsaken. So yeah, just given that, it's your first time, what type of requests are you looking for? I got a handful of stuff I want to share today, but I appreciate you joining live. But if there's any requests that you have or questions, put it in the chat and we will go through all of those details. But welcome everyone. Happy Sunday. Starting a little earlier today. It's 2 o'clock Pacific time. Just got home, earlier today. So, all right. So, Kevin, we will definitely cover that. I do have updates on MSTR, so we will cover that. Even though we saw some pullbacks on Friday, along with the entire market, dips are dips, and just with Bitcoin price, showing strength at least in Sunday, I think we're going to be headed to back to the levels that we saw, when it got up to like 460, a couple of weeks back. Welcome everyone. Put it in comments where you all are watching from. Okay, so we'll give it about another minute or two before we begin, but I appreciate you all joining on. Hope you all are having a nice Sunday so far. All right, so we got Mo joining. Happy Sunday, brother. We got Kevin. Yeah, whoever's on the call, put it in the chat where you all are watching from. I got tons of information I'd like to share with you all. But any questions, put it in the chat. Whoa, that's interesting. I'm from Vietnam. That's really cool. I'll be there again soon in a couple of months. I love Vietnam. Mo from Canada. That's cool, man. We got folks from all over the world when you look at it. We got Vlad Rai. Thank you for joining. Europe, Ramonia. Kevin, yes, I am Vietnamese. My dad's name is Kevin as well. That's really cool. I was born here though, in California. Um, Welcome to the hood. What city are you from? Are you from like Ho Chi Minh City or Saigon? All right. Well, that's really cool. That's awesome. Ho Chi Minh City. Yeah, I visited just recently last year. I love it out there. Katie from Maine. Yes, Katie. She likes Lexuses. She's debating as to whether she's going to go with a black one or a white one. So if anyone who's listening has a view or perspective to share, put it in the comments. I don't have Facebook, but you could follow me on X. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so thank you all for joining. I know last week it was a scary week. We had some pullbacks. Wall Street started reacting. Bitcoin started reacting. We had, Jerome Powell providing updates. He was basically saying the same information as usual. We need more data. We can't just make a move now. data, the economy is doing well. But when you look at Russia, or when you look at Europe, when you look at Asia, 2025 has been a year where the big countries have been, doing rate cuts, and they're doing, much better than where we are right now. So who knows? There might be some news that there's going to be a replacement with Jerome Powell. I wouldn't be surprised. All right. So, any comments, questions, put it in the chat. I'll be monitoring, but I will be sharing with you all some updates I'd like to cover so far. So, with Bitcoin right now, yesterday it was kind of scary because then it got down to 111,000 and it bounced back up. I mean, we definitely need Bitcoin to continue to surge up. And CleanSpark is going to be, announcing their earnings data. I really do think, Bitcoin, if it surges, gets up to like 116 plus, we're going to have a nice run up with the crypto stocks. So right now, 114,000, depending on how Wall Street performs tomorrow, I think we're going to have a nice green week. That's my take. What do you guys think? Put it in the comments where you guys think the markets are headed. All right, so welcome everyone. All right, so here's an interesting post. Coinvo, Scott Bessent just said Jerome Powell's replacement has been shortlisted. It's happening. So do you think that there's going to be some replacement of, Jerome Powell? You know, he has his tenure up through next year, but are they going to expedite this? Are things going to change? And Kevin, you're saying, Dogecoin to the moon. Yeah, Dogecoin is, it's at 19 cents, definitely undervalued. Also, take a look at BTOG. You know, um, they are the first Dogecoin treasury not to ignore. Katie, I think Red Week, hate to be a downer, but that's what I feel, and that's fine. There's a mixed bag feelings right now, especially with Friday. We saw a lot of uncertainty. It's kind of like Meta, um, Amazon, Google provided really good numbers, but what had happened since? I mean, things kind of just reversed. But you know what? When you look at the market from January through March, we had a big pullback. Everyone was like thinking it was like the end of the world. But what happened? We saw a V shape. I believe that the economy is going to do well. Yes, when you look at it from a microscopic view, things go up and down. But over the long term course, things are going to trend up and Bitcoin is going to follow. But yes, you're right, Katie. I mean, when it comes to like, day to day, week to week, there might be ups and downs, ebbs and flows, but things will trend up. Mark Moss, I mean, he posts public companies continue the race to accumulate Bitcoin, now holding almost 5% of the supply. This massive shift in the makeup of buyers from retail to institutional demand at this scale should alter the downside volatility of the cycles. So just take a look at this. We got, public companies like Strategy, MetaPlanet, other companies that are just buying up so much Bitcoin in 2025, even financial institutions. But just look, I mean, public companies only own 4.9%. Not to say that it won't continue to grow, it will continue to grow. But just look, all the other hodlers right now, 95%. So there's going to be a big shift in increased demand. And what is that going to do? These macro updates, uh, these macro updates, they're going to change how we look at volatility from every cycle. All right, so welcome everyone. Put it in the chat what you think is going to happen as we head into a fresh new week with Bitcoin, with stock market. That's a good move. You did, you did, the right move where you timed it right. You got in lower, you increased your share count. That's really good. I mean, I thought of the same thing, but I didn't. I just held through this pain. But we will see how things go. I mean, all right. So Plan B. Let's take a look at his Bitcoin stock to flow model. also known as S2F. So Bitcoin closed July 115,000, another monthly close all-time high. What is this telling us? On the left, months until the next halving event. So if we look at the run-up tops around that orange-yellow point, orange-yellow point, we're start around that, month 28 until the next halving event. So think about it like, 2028 April. So if you put like, 28 months from then, we're looking at somewhere around, you know, uh, November through January for that run up top. So just keep that in mind. If we follow the same historical bull runs, basically that month 28 is going to be that run up top. Now, when you couple the S2F model with Plan B's, Bitcoin RSI, relative strength index, I mean, let's take a look at this. But what he's saying is RSI is around the 75, which is like, that light orange color. He's saying in this bull market, we will see several months with RSI of 80 plus red dots. Like the last four halving events that we saw, red dots, red dots, red dots, red dots for every halving event. Now, red dots would represent an RSI of 80 plus, right? But what's going on? We haven't even seen any RSIs that are in red dots yet. So I think there's going to be more to come. Bitcoin gets to the red RSI dots somewhere around like, Q4 transitioning to Q1. We may very well have Bitcoin to like 170, 220,000. That's my range. I think it's going to land somewhere around there. But that is looking very bullish with Bitcoin. So we will see. We will see. All right. So, question from Katie. Let's see what the question is. All right. Even if CleanSpark beats on earnings, do you really think shorts will let it run? I'm nervous. All right. So, obviously we saw what had happened with Mara, what had happened with Riot. I mean, things went the total opposite, but it was all driven from the stock market, Bitcoin performing. So I think if, let's say, you see things going up, then, especially with the markets, Bitcoin, on Thursday, that'll give you a good assessment as to whether CleanSpark is going to have a nice field day. I mean, overall, I'm pretty sure CleanSpark is going to announce some really good numbers. I mean, their fleet efficiency is like top line. They're going to talk about their business model ramping up hash rate, their cost to mine, and just with Q2 Bitcoin price going up, their 12,000 hodl. That just shows how much money they've made. And I think they're going to take that approach of, not diluting shareholders. So all of that's going to work towards CleanSpark's favor. That's my perspective. I'm holding on to CleanSpark. I really do think that, there's going to be upside that's coming. All right, we got Steve Giles joining, Seattle checking in, currently lounging, watching Seafair Hydro races. I appreciate you joining, man. And we got Kara from the UK. I really appreciate it. We got people from Canada, from Romania, Europe. We got people from the East Coast, Maine joining. Just people from UK, Seattle. That's great. That's really awesome. So, any ideas, questions, or requests that you have, put it in the chat. We will go through all of that. So appreciate you all joining. Happy Sunday. Let's just quickly take a look at where Bitcoin is hovering 114,498. So we're $100 away from getting back into 115K. So this is looking very bullish. I think Eric Trump even he tweeted on X yesterday, buy the dips. I mean, when he announced that last time, a couple months ago, it dipped down 40%, but since his post to now, he's up, 30, 40%. But who knows, he might be right this time, where this is the dip and it's going to rip. All right, so President Trump here's a quote that he said: "Together we will make America the undisputed Bitcoin superpower and crypto capital of the world, including AI," which is what he mentioned during the Nashville conference, the Bitcoin conference back in 2024. With AI being a big initiative for the U.S. right now, when you look at U.S. trying to dominate in that market along with crypto. So things are looking good. Josh Mandel. I really appreciate what Josh has been posting. I mean, people view him as a Bitcoin prophet. If you're not following him, give him a follow as well. But he's saying, said the man from Miami, Michael Saylor posted, "Winter is not coming back." So love that AI image of Sailor there, but who knows? Winter might not be coming back. All right, so welcome everyone. So we got Steve joining, Kara joining, Katie. If I invested 2 billion in Bitcoin, I try to push it as well. That's a good point. You're right there, and I think that applies to even whales, minnows. Even if, let's say, you got $50 or 100, 1,000, a million, or billions, everyone has a propensity, risk tolerance to whatever money they have and whatever they invest in. The risk tolerance is, is different for everyone, but it's independent of how much is invested in. But let's say if you got someone who doesn't have a propensity to invest a lot, but they put in like $1,000 in Bitcoin, they're going to have conviction and an emotional connection with that as well. But that's right. It comes down to the Trump family hedging towards crypto. For us little minnows, we're just following the money and we're doing what the big time whales are doing. All right, Bitcoin Therapist, he posts MSTR down over 20% from 450 in the last 2 weeks, more than $73. And Saylor is not hitting the ATM. MNAB is at, $1.69x, 1.69 XR after the most bullish earnings call in history. This is a cold spring. Do not back down. We're going to Valhalla. So what happened? On Friday, strategy dropped by 8%. I think next week we're going to get back into that 400 range, and soon enough we'll get into that 500 range. Against Wall Street Post is every time the RSI hits oversold on the 4-hour Bitcoin chart, it's marked a local bottom. It's happened 4 times so far, and each time was followed by a solid move up. I've marked the spots with yellow circles, and he just opened up a 2x long at 112,000 based on that pattern. So 4-hour candle, we see Bitcoin hovering in this bull flag, and then what happened? At 112, hovering at 114. This is looking good. This is definitely looking good. All right, Mole with the question. What's your thought on China banning cryptocurrency? So we've heard this so many times. It doesn't surprise the market. What it does do is it might change up the hash rate, the global hash rate. But we know that the Chinese government owns less or more than 200,000 Bitcoin, similar to the United States. But this comes down to, capitalism versus communism, in that, China just wants to control, the public, in that, it doesn't want people to, have full leverage on crypto. But overall, I think that this is just going to provide more of a strategy for the US to start ramping things up quickly. And as Bitcoin price starts to go up, that's when the entire world will start, believing that, hey, if we wait any longer, we're going to be left behind. Global game theory, I think, is going to start ramping up significantly with Trump already, buying crypto with his money, his company DJT stock. I mean, they bought $2 billion worth. What do you think is going to happen for all of the whales, they're going to be like, hey, we should be following what, President Trump's doing. We should be embracing crypto. But great question there, Mo. I hope that answers your question. All right, we will continue. Yeah, I love these questions that everyone's asking. It really paints a picture as to, how things are looking. But look at um, Bitcoin right now. So we had that pullback. I mean, July 31st, that was Thursday. And then, we had August 1st, the first day of August on Friday. I mean, it just went from like 118 and then it dropped to like 114. And then on Friday, it went from like 115 to like 113. There was a huge pullback. So I think if we can hold up above 114, if it goes up 115, we're going to have a nice field day tomorrow. It's going to be really solid for Bitcoin, Wall Street to just go up. And any post from President Trump, it could really send the markets up as well. So Katie, with her comment, doesn't matter who tries to ban it, it's an asset like baseball cards or antique cars or a painting or land rentals and so on. Yeah, you're right. It's basically a commodity now. It's a digital commodity. I mean, you can send or receive Bitcoin from anywhere in the world. So you can think of it as gold. But when you get to a new country, you don't have to like have your asset inspected because it's part of your phone to get access to your wallet or your exchange. So yeah, that's right. It's definitely an asset that is untouched, only touched by you. So I don't really think much of the whole banning part of it, but it just comes down to the government wanting to control because the government needs to be the strongest, right? It needs to hold the most money, and they already do so with the amount of bitcoins they have. But I truly don't believe it. I really do think that there's big time whales in China that have tons of Bitcoin in their wallets. That doesn't change anything. All right, so let's continue. So just wanted to, just go through some posts as I did before we go through technicals. But Mara, we had earnings call last week. I mean, they reported that they mined 2,358 bitcoins with a hash rate of 57 exahash. That was a 82% year-over-year improvement. And now they're targeting 75 exahash by year end. In fact, there was a Silicon Valley company that just announced that they shipped millions of their technology for mining capacity to Mara just recently. So I wonder how that's going to help improve their overall fleet efficiency and increase their Bitcoin mining. Their balance sheet, I mean, they have over 50,000 Bitcoin. They're behind strategy. They also raised $950 million convertible notes due in 2032 to fund more of their mining and expansion into different sites. So it'll be interesting tomorrow. Let's say markets open green and miners start announcing their July production data along with Bitcoin reaching all-time high. Things could really go into new levels. So looking very excited with that. All right, Clean Spark. So Clean Spark dropped 7% to $10.44. We have a new psychological support level at that $10. But when you think about it, this is looking really good because why? Back like what the down days, during March, April, May. I mean, Clean Spark was like at $6. So if you have a support at $10, I mean, that's definitely power resistance, right? Getting into double digit range. And now that we've been hovering in the double digit range and with $10 being the support as the bottom, what do you think is going to happen, for the rest of 2025? Just put that into perspective. CleanSpark just became the first public miner to hit 50 exahash fleet efficiency that was announced a while back. Now with their fleet efficiency 16.1 joules per terahash. So it'll be interesting for their Q2 earnings, August 7th, how things will go. But financial institutions right now, they're targeting, forecast of $21. So that's like an upside of like 100% if things just really change. So stay dialed in, focus on the price and hodl. We will go through the technicals as well. But Thiessen, you're right. I mean, the compensation was enormously high. It was like to the levels of what Jensen Huang from India is getting paid out. So I think something has to change with that as well. Riot platforms Friday they dropped 17%. That was a big time drop. Similar. A price correction with Coinbase as well. I mean, these are top two giants out there. But when you look at it from a technical perspective, I mean, the RSIs were fairly high, but with that recent drop, it really brought the RSI down to like, the stabilized levels. So let's say Bitcoin establishes support. Like, I have it at around 110,000. This really puts Bitcoin to the next potential upside to 180,000 in 2025. And Riot, they announced during their Q2 updates last week, they had, $219 million of net income with 495 million of adjusted EBITDA, just with, Bitcoin price rising from Q1 to Q2. It'll be interesting to see what their July production numbers is, which we might hear about into next week, starting with Monday. And they're ramping up their hash rate to 40 hash, along with providing more updates with their AI business model. All right, so we'll continue, but any comments, questions, I'd love to answer. So just continue to put it in the chat. So Ethereum, so here's technical indicators for ETH as well. So yes, we did get a recent pullback. So we did see ETH going up to like 80 RSI, and then that recent drop kind of resetted things down to 50. But I'm expecting ETH to hit like 7,800 in 2025. So be on the lookout for treasury companies like BMNR, SBET, BTBT, Game. These can really have nice movements, which I'll be covering technicals in detail shortly. All right, so I also want to share. Yes, thank you, JG, for joining, and Katie, the comments. So Fred Thiel, yes, he's been making so much money on the stock compensation. It's crazy when you got Jensen Huang getting the same amount. So I think he's getting looked at for that. Game is getting crushed. Yeah, I mean, I sprinkled some in at the high point, so I'm getting crushed as well. Yehem Stone. So I think she is because of the last name. That's my guess. But if she's blonde and black Lexus, there you go. That's funny. I think, Katie, you got the answer there. But if anyone thinks of white, then put it in the chat because you can't go wrong, blonde on white as well, right? White exterior. All right. So, Galaxy. So, let's say if you're not invested in the Galaxy, and, I'm not, trying to like market Galaxy or anything. I have no affiliation with any of these companies aside from, just me being bullish on certain stocks. But Galaxy, I mean, think about what had happened like a couple weeks ago about the big time whale that sold his Bitcoin and made $9 billion. I mean, he bought Bitcoin for like 54,000 back in like, I don't know, over 11 years ago. He made $9 billion in profit. That was all through the Galaxy exchange. So if an exchange can handle like that capacity on one trade, that credibility is there. And just think about the Genius Bill Act getting signed into law and how September we're gonna get, crypto laws in place. Galaxy Digital is here to stay. I mean, crypto AI, they also have data centers as well. They work with CoreWeave. I really do think that Galaxy is going to be that next, workhorse, similar to how Robinhood has performed, and Palantir has performed. So as far as Galaxy, I don't want to disclose the amount of shares that I have, but I've been buying Galaxy over the course of time. I mean, I actually have shares of Galaxy. I also have leaps options on Galaxy as well. So, Katie, anyone buying Jack Maller's stock gonna be XXI, right? I mean, CEP Cantor Fitzgerald. I mean, the price has been getting beat down, but when it first opened, it was like $12 and went to $60. I mean, now at like high 20s, I think it's undervalued as well. I mean, Jack Mallers, he is like a good speaker, man. I mean, he just says it the way that just makes sense, and I think that's really gonna attract the newer generation when it comes to investing and all that. But I think he's building up a really good, compelling story. He definitely is. I mean, he spoke at the Bitcoin conference right before Saylor came out, but he's just very polished, and he's not that you wear a tie type of guy, but he comes in with a hoodie, and then yeah, I'm just fascinated to see what type of guy he is, and he's a humble guy too. I mean, he's talked a lot about his personal stories, going through a divorce and all that, but like what he's learned from his dad. I mean, all credit to just all of the stuff that he's been through. But now, I mean, look at where he's at. So XXI is going to be a really solid company as well. Um, all right, so let's continue. So, all right, so some of you may have already seen this. I had this video clip that was played in the video I announced, but I just want to, some of you might, follow Andrew Tate, some of you dislike him, but let's just see what he's saying here. According to Grok, less than 1% of men globally can bench 140 kilos. So I walked in and I did it totally cold with no warm up at all, and it was easy. So if you're wondering how much is 140 kilogram, that's 309 pounds. So let's just play this clip of. So that's Andrew Tate. So there you have it, Andrew Tate. So you don't have to be benching, over 300 pounds, even if you're a male or a female. I think it's important to just build your strength as well. Yes, we're talking about building our finances, but also just start small, start on a small scale. I'm a big advocate for, health as well. Build on that strength as well. So I'm gonna share with you a clip. So here's a clip of me doing a deadlift of 515 pounds. So I've been working hard over the many years. So that was my personal record, 515. I need to get higher than that. On the right, let me just play a clip of me doing a PR at 325 bench press. So I hope that. All right, so let's continue. So Bitcoin is at 114,368. All right, so um, what are we seeing? I'm seeing, yes, we had some downside. Yes, the RSI, it definitely needs to cool off, right? RSI July 14 when we got to 123,000, that was like at 78. Okay, and now it cooled off a bit, which is a good thing. So we're still in this upward ascending channel, but it's building support at that, 111, 112,000. I'd be worried if it breaks through like 108 at that support. But where we are right now at 114,000, things are looking, good, solid, not too worried. But we will continue to see how things move as we head up. But in the year 2025, I really do think Bitcoin has that potential to get up to like at least 170,000, sometime, towards the end of the year. All right. So let's continue. MSTR, yes, we saw a huge pullback with MSTR, but one thing I want to point out is like, okay, during 2024, around July, RSI had a big pullback as well. This was when, MSTR was like at 180 and it dropped to like 116. RSI, took a huge pullback, but then what happened after that? It like a 5x after that. So are we seeing similar uh, type of event play out in that the RSI is cooling off before it just has like a shooting star? But on the near term, I think in Q3 we have potential to get to 550 in Q3. That is where I'm kind of forecasting that we're headed. All right, MetaPlanet. So MetaPlanet is, another stock that, we've been hearing a lot about, like especially during like that May timeframe when, we heard that their Bitcoin purchases, Saylor was giving MetaPlanet a lot of recognition. I mean, the stock went from like $2 all the way to $15, is why the RSI went up to like 95. But look at what's happened since then. RSI has been oversold. I've been taking advantage, dollar cost averaging, MetaPlanet currently at $7. I think that's the right price point before that reversal up. I really do see MetaPlanet, getting back into that double digit range. So be on the lookout. It's going to have a reversal very soon. CleanSpark. Let's talk about CleanSpark. 170,000. I think that's reasonable, and that's aligned with the financial institutional forecast. But who knows? We've seen Bitcoin run up, significantly high. But just now that there's so much eyes on Bitcoin, and now that it's up to like the 100,000, volatility will be a lot less compared to like the last halving events onward. So let's talk about CleanSpark. So CleanSpark current RSI at 38. That's a good thing. We want RSI to like be, in that midpoint area. So yes, while the price had a pullback from $13 now at $10, I think that base is that $10 support. Good news is we're seeing higher lows, still higher highs. I think that just gonna have a reversal in this regard, and we're gonna continue to see CleanSpark climb up. No one wants to see the stock drop 30% from its, resistance point of $13, right? But I do think that we will continue to see CleanSpark ascend up as we, head towards the later weeks, months. I do see $18 is going to be coming for CleanSpark. Riot platforms, I mean, huge drop we saw Friday. I mean, that was a big drop off after, having a bullish movement from $6 to like $15. But just based on technicals, you got to have a pullback as well. I mean, it was at 78 RSI and now dropped down to 37. So I do think that there's going to be a lot of whale buying in because they're anticipating that there's going to be some consolidation around this range before it breaks out of that consolidation channel as well for Riot. Let's talk about Mara. So yes, hearing about the updates with Mara, yes, they do have 50,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet, but why is it that Fred is getting paid so much money, similar to like Jensen Huang? Things have to change when it comes to that type of amount being given to the CEO. But just based on technicals, though, I mean, dropping from like $21 to 15, that's a big time drop I do think that we head into, the rest of August, September, we're going to see it climb back up to $24. Um, I was incorrect before the timing, thinking that we're going to have a run up, especially with the events leading up to the earnings report. But I was wrong. But you know what? I think over time, you can't always be right on the time, but things go with ebbs and flows. And I do think Mara's going to have a nice day as we head into the remainder of 2025. IREN. So let's talk about IREN. So yes, so you're right. So Kate, I hope so. My new Lexus depends on it. So so Riot had a big drop, yes, and then I missed out on a big run in SoFi because I sold a bunch to add to my Clean Spark position. Hope it runs. Yeah, Clean Spark. I think the support is in $10. I think it's only going to be up from here. There's a big support with Clean Spark, and I really like what they were doing at the Bitcoin conference. um, they're really scaling up their operations, and as Bitcoin price goes up, then CleanSpark will go up as well. IREN, they're gaining a lot of like investor like traction lately. IREN, CleanSpark, you hear them a lot. IREN has that dual effect going on with AI as well. They ran up to like $21. I did talk about how their RSI was too high. It needs to cool off a bit, which it did from 21 to 15. So, we're going to see that support established here before we start seeing it climb up to that new level. I really do think, we're going to see it, climb up to $27 as the upside level. All right, so BMNR. So let's talk about BMNR. So we heard a lot about, Bitmine, emerging technologies. When this puppy ran late June, I mean, it went from like a $4 stock all the way to like 150. RSI was at the level that you don't typically see ever. I mean, 95 RSI blow up top, and then, it's been just falling down significantly in the course of many weeks now. You know, it's hard to time when that support level gets established, but I like the fact that it dropped from like 100 and like close to like 170 to $30. I mean, that's a big drop off. Yes, it can drop down even further to like 27, but I like the price point. I've been dollar cost averaging into BMNR as well. I really do think that there's a use case with Ethereum, and I think of BMNR similar to like strategy on the Ethereum asset treasury. So I do think that it won't have like the same type of run up like what we saw, but to me, I think let's say if Ethereum goes to like 7,800 in 2025, we could easily see BMNR get to like $80, $100 on a conservative level. Let's talk about Galaxy as well. So Galaxy, what we covered earlier, but we also had RSI at like 80. It definitely needed to cool off a bit, which now we see RSI $55. They have their earnings coming up very soon, which I'm sure they're going to be surprising a lot of people. A lot of people have been buying a lot of Galaxy recently over the past couple of weeks. But I think that we're going to be headed, on the near term, in Q3, Q4 transition to like that, $80 range. Galaxy, I really do think they're going to be like that Robinhood, Palantir type of stock. So be on the lookout for Galaxy. BTBT is another stock I want to just share with you. Why do I like BTBT? Well, they have a use case as well. They switched from Bitcoin mining and now being a full scale Ethereum treasury company. So they sold their Bitcoin. They have a little Bitcoin left to buy up Ethereum. So they're banking on Ethereum. What had happened? I mean, this thing ran up to like 430. It cooled off to like 320, then bounced back up to 450, and then since then it's just been bleeding out. I definitely do think it's undervalued right now. Why is that the case? When you have volatility, you're going to have bounce back up. Definitely do see $6 incoming as we head into Q3. So be on the lookout. BTBT, they also got partnership with White Fiber, which just got IPO'd as WYFI, Wi-Fi. they're gonna, announce some updates from CEO Sam Tabar, and we will continue to see higher lows, higher highs be established. All right, so the last stock I want to share with you, and of course, if you have any other stocks that you'd like for me to share, I'll definitely pull that up. BitDeer, I'm very bullish on BitDeer. I actually, bought some BitDeer last week. I mean, just look at this. I mean, the dip happened, of course, back in April, right? I mean, $6. But when you look at BitDeer, I mean, December 2024, they had the price similar to like Hut 8. I mean, look at this, close to $27. So where it currently is right now, $12. I view that as significantly undervalued. I mean, similar price point as like a Mara stock. But the fact that it's currently at $12, I mean, that's like 60% discount from the top point of like January. So I think on the near term, we're going to see BitDeer bounce up to $20. I mean, just with the prior resistance on the near term, like back in July, it was hovering around $15. May it got up to like $16. So definitely do think $20 is going to be incoming as crypto starts ramping back up. All right, so I spoke a lot there. It was quite tiring, but I hope that for those who are still on, I appreciate you all joining. SNLH. That's interesting. So what is SNLH? Okay, so it might be on a different exchange, but on TradingView, I can't pull that. Hope that goes well for you. Alan, Cypher, and Wolf. Okay, so there's Japanese characters that I'm not able to read, but thank you for commenting. Cypher and Wolf, let's take a look. So I did predict that Cypher was going to have a pullback, which I was right. I did have, posts on X about Cypher when it ran up to like $7. Some people were saying, oh, it's going to go to $10, but I did post to indicate that, hey, be on the lookout because RSI needs to cool off a bit. I do think that it will eventually get there, but first it's got to break through the $8, which I was, forecasting. So I did, indicate that Cypher is going to have a correction that the RSI can cool off a bit. So we still continue to see higher lows, but I think this is the support level that the bulls are heavily monitoring right now. If it breaks below this trend line and if it gets below $5, then we definitely might be seeing like a new support at $4. But let's say if things look bullish starting the upcoming week and things start bouncing back, where RSI starts stabilizing, where we get an increased trend of buying, then we may very well see that 680 coming back before we see it start climbing up to $8. So Cypher had a nice pullback, so definitely opportunity to dollar cost average if you believe in them. But that's my overall take with Cypher. And then as for TeraWolf, just TeraWolf overall, I mean, all miners were bleeding out, but TeraWolf, similar performance. If you believe in what TeraWolf is doing, I mean, most miners are behaving very similar right now. So if you see companies like IREN, the big three Bitcoin miners going up, then, Wolf is going to eat as well. So be on the lookout for that. But I do think that they are undervalued. They were previously like at $9. So buying at this point is better than buying at the top resistance point. Oh, so Luna Holdings. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, so Luna Holdings. So you definitely are a gambler there, but you know what? It's better than buying than that run up top, right? So look at what happened back in April when it got oversold from 39 cents to 94 cents, so it doubled. No, it 2x. So let's just hope. I'll be praying for you as well. So Luna Holdings to have a nice gap as well. Thank you for sharing that, Katie. All right, so let's take a look at Bitcoin price. And again, let's say if you haven't already done so, if you're not subscribed, I really appreciate subscribing, hitting the like as well to the live session. Also, Bitcoin hovering at 114,000. Let's just see if it can push up to 115,000. That'll be good. So not gambling, 10 grand, 2,000. Okay, not bad. I mean, Kate, I'm pretty sure you have a solid job and all that, so doesn't really impact you as much. I hope it goes up. It goes from 2,000 to 10,000. All right, so thank you all for joining. I usually go for like an hour. We're at 52 minutes, but I really appreciate those who stayed on and watched throughout. We'll do it again next Sunday. But let's see how the markets perform this upcoming week. Hopefully, we get a bounce back again, remain calm, stay dialed in and focused, and we will do it again next week. All right, so APLD, so Applied Digital. Oh, yes. So I've been monitoring Applied Digital, just seeing how strong Applied Digital performed last week. I mean, on Thursday, it shot up like 30%. I think this is an AI company. But back in June, RSI went up to like 85, got up to like $15, and then got down to 9, and it just shot up. So just based on the trend line, I mean, I think that it's going to continue to climb up. I think a lot of people are liking the story of Applied Digital. Now, I don't know the full on details with what they do and all that, but I just know that they're an AI based company, and there's been a lot of like power with Applied Digital. So yeah, just continue to monitor. But I like them. I've been monitoring them as well now. Thank you, JG. I appreciate your continued support to this channel. Hopefully, altcoin season continues. I mean, we're seeing a reversal today, but that's all dependent on ETH and Bitcoin. But let's just hope for better days to come. Remain bullish, remain calm, and we'll get there. Thanks for sharing that, Katie. I'm also down on game as well, but let's just hope for a reversal. All right. You all have a great rest of your Sunday. Take care, guys. Bye bye.